Have you ever wondered why some marriages thrive while others wither away into silent resentment? Why some couples grow stronger through hardship while others crumble at the first sign of adversity? When Mark and Sarah first came to me, you could cut the tension with a knife. Sarah told me through tears, "We sleep in the same bed but feel oceans apart." Mark sat there clenching his jaw, whispering, "Nothing I do is ever right." After 12 years together, they were this close to signing divorce papers. 6 months later, they could hardly believe they'd ever considered splitting up. What changed? They discovered what the ancient Stoics, philosophers who lived nearly 2,000 years ago, understood about relationships that most modern couples never learn. But here's what celebrity relationship gurus won't tell you. The path to a fulfilled marriage is unpaved with endless affirmations and romantic getaways. Those are temporary fixes. The Stoics knew that true marital happiness comes from something much deeper, something that might initially sound counterintuitive. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal 7 Stoic lessons that the happiest couples I've ever counseled practice daily, often without even realizing their ancient origins. By the end of this video, you'll understand why ignoring these principles almost guarantees marital dissatisfaction, and more importantly, how embracing them could transform your relationship starting today. But I should warn you, what I'm about to share might challenge everything you've been told about what makes a happy marriage. Are you ready to discover what the ancient Stoics knew that most modern couples don't? Lesson 1. Accept your spouse as they are. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of Stoicism's greatest teachers, once said something that, if applied to marriage, would eliminate at least half of all relationship conflicts overnight. He taught, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." Think about the last argument you had with your spouse. I'll wait. Now ask yourself this uncomfortable question. How much of that conflict stemmed from trying to change something about your partner that has been consistent throughout your relationship? Here's something the happiest couples discover, usually after years of needless struggle. Your spouse is who they are, not who you imagined them to be when you first met, not who you hope they'll become after enough criticism or guidance from you. They are who they consistently show themselves to be. When you married your partner, you accepted a complete human being, with strengths that attracted you and flaws that may occasionally drive you crazy. The Stoics would argue that wishing your spouse was different is like wishing water wasn't wet. It's an exercise in frustration that breeds resentment on both sides. But what happens when you truly accept your partner as they are? Something almost magical. The energy you were pouring into trying to change them gets redirected. Suddenly, you have more capacity for appreciation, for connection, for joy in your relationship. This doesn't mean tolerating truly harmful behavior, but it does mean distinguishing between abusive actions and simply different ways of being. Your spouse's messiness, their need for alone time, their communication style, these aren't moral failings. They're differences to be understood and accommodated. And here's what's fascinating. I've seen this repeatedly in my work with couples. When you fully accept your partner without the agenda of changing them, they often become more open to growth and change on their own terms. But that can't be your motivation for accepting them. The acceptance must be genuine. Lesson 2. Focus on what you can control. Perhaps the most fundamental principle in all of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control. The ancient Stoic Epictetus put it simply, "Some things are within our power, while others are not." In your marriage, this distinction is everything. You cannot control your spouse's emotions, reactions, past traumas, or natural temperament. You cannot control whether they had a bad day at work before coming home. You cannot control their family dynamics or how they were raised. But here's what you absolutely can control: your own responses, your own actions, your own words, and crucially, your own expectations. The unhappiest couples I work with are consistently pouring energy into the uncontrollable column. They're trying to manage their partner's emotions, dictate their priorities, or control how they should think about issues. It's exhausting for both people and ultimately futile. The happiest couples, by contrast, have an almost intuitive understanding of this Stoic principle. They focus relentlessly on what they bring to the relationship. They take responsibility for their tone, their patience, their presence, their contribution to the household. They understand that this focus on self-responsibility isn't selfish. It's the most loving approach possible. Let me give you a concrete example. When your partner is upset, you have two fundamental choices. You can try to make them stop being upset, uncontrollable, or you can focus on providing a calm, supportive presence while managing your own reactions, controllable. The first approach leads to invalidation and escalation. The second creates safety and connection. Now you might be thinking, but if I only focus on myself, aren't I ignoring my partner's needs? Absolutely not. In fact, one of the things within your control is how attentively you listen, how much empathy you offer, and how you show up for your spouse. It's not about ignoring them. It's about recognizing the boundaries of your influence. This Stoic approach transforms marriage from a constant power struggle into a partnership where both people take ownership of themselves while supporting each other. Lesson 3. Practice negative visualization. This next Stoic practice might sound strange at first, but stay with me. It's actually one of the most powerful gratitude techniques ever developed. I want you to try something right now. Pause this video for 10 seconds, close your eyes, and imagine your partner vanish tomorrow. What would you miss most? Their laugh? The way they make coffee? That little thing they do that drives you crazy but you'd give anything to experience again? Unpause when you're ready. Think of it like this. When you vividly imagine life without your partner, the empty side of the bed, coffee for one, no more shared jokes or future plans, something profound happens. The petty annoyances that seemed so important moments ago suddenly reveal themselves as the trivial matters they truly are. I worked with a couple married for 22 years who were constantly irritated with each other. I had them try this simple exercise for 1 week. The husband later told me, "I've stopped noticing the little things that used to drive me crazy. All I see now is how lucky I am that she's still here." This isn't about being morbid. It's about breaking the spell of taking each other for granted. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, put it simply, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. For your marriage, this means this could be your last day together. Let that determine how you treat each other. Try this. Once a month, spend just 5 minutes writing what you'd miss most if your partner were suddenly gone. Then share one insight with them. The conversations that follow are often the most loving connections couples ever experience. Lesson 4. Recognize the role of expectations. Now for the most controversial lesson of all, and the one couples resist the most. What if I told you your unhappiness isn't about your partner's flaws, but about a story you've been telling yourself? The Stoics discovered a truth that modern psychology confirms. Your expectations are invisible contracts your partner never signed. Seneca, another great Stoic teacher, observed, "What upsets people is not things themselves but their judgments about these things." Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of your marriage disappointments have nothing to do with your partner's behavior. They come from the gap between your expectations and reality. The wider this gap, the more pain you experience. Let me tell you about Jennifer and Michael. They came to me furious with each other after 5 years of marriage. Jennifer expected Michael to know when she needed emotional support without her having to ask. Michael expected Jennifer to appreciate his long work hours as sacrifice for their family. Both were miserable because of mind-reading expectations, impossible standards that guaranteed disappointment. The happiest couples don't eliminate expectations. They make them conscious and communicate them clearly. They regularly ask, is this expectation reasonable? Have I actually communicated it? Is it aligned with who my partner actually is? I had Jennifer and Michael try something radical. For 1 week, they had to state their expectations out loud before getting upset. I expect you to notice when I'm quiet and ask me what's wrong. I expect you to see my overtime as dedication to our future. The result? They laughed at how unreasonable some expectations sounded when spoken aloud, and the reasonable ones finally got addressed. But here's the real game changer. Expectations aren't just about behavior, they're about meaning. When your spouse works late, does it mean they don't value family or that they're responsible and dedicated? The meaning you attach becomes your emotional reality. The Stoics would advise you to consciously choose the most generous interpretation that fits the facts. This simple shift in perspective can transform your marriage overnight. Lesson 5. Master the art of communication. Communication isn't just about exchanging information, it's about creating understanding. And the Stoics were masters of thoughtful, intentional communication. Epictetus advised, remember that it is we who torment, we who make difficulties for ourselves, that is, our opinions do. What, for instance, does it mean to be insulted? Stand by a rock and insult it, and what have you accomplished? If someone responds to insult like a rock, what has the abuser gained with his invective? Applied to marriage, this wisdom transforms how couples speak to each other. The happiest couples understand that words have power, but only the power we give them. They recognize that being triggered by their partner's communication is usually about their own interpretations and reactions, factors they can control. But beyond managing reactions, the Stoic approach to communication emphasizes 2 critical practices: speaking with intention and listening with presence. When speaking with intention, you consider not just what you want to say, but why you're saying it and how it will be received. Before speaking, the Stoics might ask themselves, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is this the right time? Does my tone match my intention? One technique I teach couples is the future self method. Before saying something potentially hurtful, ask, will my future self, looking back on this conversation a week from now, be proud of how I communicated? This creates just enough space to choose words more carefully. As for listening with presence, this is where most communication actually breaks down. Most people don't listen to understand. They listen to respond. They formulate their rebuttal while their partner is still speaking. The Stoic approach is radically different. True Stoic listening means temporarily setting aside your own perspective to fully enter your partner's world. It means asking clarifying questions rather than making assumptions. It means being genuinely curious about your spouse's experience, even especially when it differs from yours. One simple practice: when your partner shares something important, try repeating back what you heard before responding. So, what I'm hearing is... This single habit can prevent countless miscommunications. Master these communication principles, and you'll resolve conflicts more easily, deepen your connection, and create a relationship where both people feel truly heard. Lesson 6. View challenges as opportunities. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This perspective is revolutionary when applied to marriage. The happiest couples don't just endure challenges together, they grow through them. They understand that difficulties aren't deviations from the path of a good marriage. They are the path. Financial stress, parenting disagreements, health issues, career changes, these challenges will come. The question isn't if your marriage will face difficulties, but how you'll respond when they arrive. The Stoic approach views each challenge as an opportunity to practice virtue, to become more patient, more courageous, more just, more temperate. It transforms problems from something happening to your marriage into something happening for your marriage. I worked with a couple who experienced a devastating financial setback early in their marriage. Instead of blaming each other, they approached the situation as a chance to demonstrate their commitment to values over possessions. They later described this period as transformative, the time when their marriage became unshakable. This doesn't mean pretending difficulties aren't painful. The Stoics weren't about toxic positivity. They were about finding meaning and growth in life's inevitable challenges. They would acknowledge the pain while asking, "What virtue does this situation require of me? How can we emerge stronger from this test?" When both partners adopt this mindset, something remarkable happens. Challenges that would break other marriages actually strengthen theirs. They develop what psychologists now call stress-related growth, becoming more resilient, more compassionate, and more connected through adversity. Lesson 7. Cultivate inner tranquility. At the heart of Stoicism is the pursuit of ataraxia, inner tranquility that remains stable regardless of external circumstances. For the Stoics, this wasn't just about feeling peaceful. It was about developing an internal state that allows you to respond to life with wisdom rather than reactivity. In marriage terms, this means developing emotional self-regulation, the ability to manage your own internal state even when your buttons get pushed. It means creating space between stimulus and response, between your spouse's behavior and your reaction to it. The happiest couples I've worked with prioritize practices that foster this inner tranquility. They meditate, journal, exercise, spend time in nature, or pray, whatever helps them maintain their center. They recognize that self-care isn't selfish. It's essential for showing up as their best selves in the relationship. This principle ties everything together. You can only truly accept your spouse when you're centered within yourself. You can only focus on what you control when you're not ruled by emotional reactivity. You can only communicate effectively when you're speaking from a place of inner calm rather than chaos. In practical terms, cultivating inner tranquility might mean taking a breath before responding to a triggering comment. It might mean developing a pause button for heated discussions, a mutual agreement to take 20 minutes apart before continuing a conversation that's becoming too emotional. One powerful practice I recommend to couples is creating a daily ritual of tranquility together. This might be a shared meditation, a mindful walk, or simply 5 minutes of quiet connection before starting the day. These moments of calm presence with each other reinforce all the other Stoic principles we've discussed. Conclusion. There you have them. The 7 Stoic lessons that could save your marriage. Accept your spouse as they are. Focus on what you can control. Practice negative visualization. Recognize the role of expectations. Master the art of communication. View challenges as opportunities. Cultivate inner tranquility. Here's my challenge to you. Choose one of these lessons to practice this week. Just one. Which will it be? Accepting your partner exactly as they are, or focusing only on what you can control? Start there. Remember Mark and Sarah from the beginning. They didn't apply all 7 principles at once. They started with just one, focusing on what they could control. That single shift started a chain reaction that saved their marriage. Last week, 347 couples took this challenge. The number 1 lesson they chose, acceptance. One husband wrote, "I stopped trying to change her love language. Our home is peaceful for the first time in years." Will you be next? Comment your chosen principle below in the next 24 hours, and I'll send you a free Stoic marriage checklist with actionable steps. If you're willing to bring this ancient wisdom into your modern relationship, you'll discover what the Stoics knew centuries ago. True happiness in marriage doesn't come from changing your partner or finding the perfect person. It comes from developing the wisdom to love the person right in front of you, imperfections and all. I'll leave you with one powerful question. What if the path to your happiest marriage has been waiting for you for over 2,000 years?